4K resolution, an OLED touchscreen, 99% color gamut, 10-bit color depth. It looks like XP-Pen is trying to squeeze the best of the best into their new drawing display, to their new model, which is called the Artist Ultra 16, this one here. This is their first product in their new Ultra range, and they are obviously trying to attack a high-end market now, because what you get in here for $1,000 is, at least on the paper, something you until now had to pay at least $1,500-$1,600 or even more with models from a competing brand. I really wondered if they overreached with this release, because what we know from XP-Pen right now is like lower or medium priced displays that are a very high value for money. And luckily I got a chance to just find out if they overreach or if this is actually a good move by them. XP-Pen sent this over a couple days ago, and I'm really happy that I can get my hands on it and let you know if it's worth the high price. As usual, just a quick disclaimer, I got this display for free for testing, but this video is not sponsored, so I'm going to tell you 100% my honest and unbiased opinion. And while this is off the table, let's get this thing unboxed and running. Of course, just today when I want to record this, it's the first super sunny day in a long time here, so my unboxing table is a bit sunbathed. I hope you can appreciate a couple of very atmospheric takes now. Anyway, here's the display, looking nice and slim, very compact, 16-inch, actually the size I probably like the most for a drawing screen. There's a generous amount of extras coming with the display. First and most importantly, we have two different pens inside this nice case. I will get into the differences of these two and how I like them later on. This is the cable box, right? We also have the shortcut remote, as the display itself doesn't have any shortcut buttons. I've tried the exact same model with another display before, and it's a very helpful addition. Now this seems to be the stand. That's a whole new system to me, and I gotta check out how that works in a minute. On top we have the usual cables and plugs, a drawing glove, a cloth, and a whole bunch of nibs for the stylus. Okay, I really want to plug this in, so let's get out of the sun and into my drawing cave. By now I also found out how the stand works. It actually has to be glued to the display's back. I recognized already in my last review, where I checked the Artist Pro 22 Gen 2, that XP-Pen made a big step forward to a high quality look and feel. The Artist Ultra 16 and the items that come with it are no different. The stand doesn't quite fit in there because it kind of feels weird that I had to glue it to the display's back. It's a weird thing to buy something valuable and for a lot of money, and then you have to kind of glue it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Let me know. But that's the first thing. And second is that you only have two settings for the angle, so you can pull out these here for this is like the higher angle and this is the lower angle. And there's systems that work with a more nuanced angle setting and that come without having to glue it to the display. But it works all right, and for me personally, the higher angle is perfect, so that's totally fine for me. I can work with that. I just thought that it would be good to point this out. So far I can say that it's stable and it's doing the job, and everyone who needs a more flexible stand will probably get the exact model they need anyway. While setting up the rest, I recognized something nice. The cable is actually long enough. So many displays come with a too short cable. You may have seen me complaining if you're watching my reviews regularly, but this one is perfect. Apart from that, it's the known system, combining USB, HDMI and power to a single USB plug. It's plugged into the head side of the display, and that's also where the power button sits. Apart from the on and off switch, there's also buttons for adjusting the brightness and a button that switches the touch function on and off. Now it's time to calibrate the screen, which is quickly done. Just install the XP-Pen software open up calibration and tap the 5 crosses on the screen, and that's done. And now it's time to open up Clip Studio Paint, and I want to try the touchscreen functions first and set that up in a way that works best for me. I think one of the biggest advantages of the touchscreen is that it allows you to work more intuitively. So you can use your fingers to zoom in and out and to scroll the canvas and to navigate. And another thing I want to have for my workflow is that I can use a tab with 2 fingers to undo and a tab with 3 fingers to redo, which seems to be the default setting here because it's instantly working just as I like, as you see here. Now, these exact 2 functions were the ones I usually had on my Stylus buttons on tablets that didn't have a touch function, and now I've been thinking what to use these buttons for. And this is my personal experience, but I felt changing between eraser and brush was a function that I really needed shortcuts for. So I assigned these, the key E and the key P, to the Stylus buttons, and it works just fine for me. For additional shortcuts, you can also assign functions to a 4 or 5 finger tap and swipe gestures. And there's something called the swimming menu. I've assigned it to a 5 finger tap here. It pops up and gives you 8 more customizable shortcut options. This is the first touch display I run on my PC. Until now, I only had the touch experience on my iPad. And it's such a big advantage. Zooming in and out, and especially rotating the canvas, which I do a lot, works so much more intuitive and quicker. There's one issue though with drawing on touchscreens, and that is false input. So you sometimes undo things in an unwanted way, or you zoom in and out of the screen because you rest your wrist on the display, and this creates an input, or this is interpreted as a false input. I do have false input signals on my iPad every now and then as well, and I just live with it, but you gotta say that the Artist Ultra 16 is quite a bit larger, or significantly larger than the iPad, and this creates more like chances for the touchscreen to misinterpret me. XPPen brought a couple solutions for that. First, you can limit the area of the screen that reacts to your touch inputs. You simply tell the display which area is touch and which is no touch. I tried making the lower part of the display no touch, so my hand heel wouldn't create any false inputs, because I felt like this would be the area where this happened the most, and it definitely helps, but it takes a while to adjust to the fact that you can't use touch anymore everywhere. So I sometimes had situations where I wanted to zoom in and out in the lower part and it didn't work, but I think this could be a solution for many of you. Another solution, these very fancy drawing gloves. I must have, I don't know, a dozen of them lying around because they often come with drawing displays. I never use them, but in this case, with the new touch screen, I decided to put them on and see how it. I have very large hands, by the way. Oh, okay, it fits. Very good. I'm glad it fits. So I'm going to find out how the drawing experience changes with these on. And voila, there's absolutely no false inputs anymore, but I'm not sure if I could ever adjust to the gloves being super slippery on the tablet surface. I constantly felt like I had to catch my own hand while drawing. I know some of you use these, so maybe let me know if there's some that don't feel this slippery that I could buy extra or so. That could make the drawing experience perfect, but I think for now, with these gloves, I will just live with the occasional wrong undo tap. One thing you need to do in your settings though is disable using tools with touch functions. Here's where to find it in Clip Studio Paint. It's the German version, but it's easy to find in the preferences. Don't turn this function off and you'll be in a world of artist pain. It just doesn't work. I think now is a good time to also talk about the pen, or the plural pens, because you can pick between two. There's the thicker classic version and a slim one hidden inside this box. And I love to see the slim stylus in there, because with the more thick versions that you usually get as a standard with most drawing displays from any kind of brand, my hand starts to hurt after a couple hours of using it. So I do long drawing sessions, and with this kind of pen it's much more comfortable. However, there are unfortunately two downsides to this version. First one is that it doesn't have an eraser at the hat, so you can't turn it around and erase. The other one, the thicker version, has that actually. And the second downside is that you can't use the gray felt, what's it called? Like the felt tip pen? I don't know, something like that. There's the gray tips included, and you can't fit them to the thin, to the slim version. It's only changeable for the thicker one, and I usually prefer the gray ones because they feel more natural, like more like real paper. And this is kind of a little bummer, but it's okay. I think this one is still completely alright, and I am happily exchanging these downsides for less wrist pain or less hand pain. As you see, I'm already in the middle of coloring my portrait drawing here, so now I can also give you an opinion about the screen quality. I can make this short. It's perfectly crisp. The colors are on point from what I tested compared to my calibrated monitor. I'm not sure if a 4K resolution is absolutely necessary for a 16-inch model, but it obviously doesn't hurt. The brightness is also great, and I like that you can adjust it with the hardware keys at the top of the display. If I could make a wish, I'd love to see a 120Hz version, but this would be the cherry on the top, and it's really good as it is. The OLED screen gives you what it's there for, a lovely contrast with a dark black. I also kept an image on the screen for a while to test for a burning in effect, and typically for OLED it does happen, but it also disappeared quickly. I guess it makes sense to keep an eye on that and not let the display running without using it for too long to avoid a long-lasting burn-in effect. The latency is also fine and no different to other current gen displays. You can see a bit in this video every now and then, but when drawing I don't actually recognize it. The gap between screen and surface is very low, and drawing overall feels very natural. By the way, there's something in the box that came along the display that I haven't been talking about at all so far. One very significant gadget, which is this shortcut thing here, this shortcut remote. It's a really nice machine. I've been just testing and using it for another review, and I love it, but I don't really need it, to be honest, because thanks to the touchscreen, I can select the tools in the app in Clip Studio with my finger. So sometimes you have to really kind of be very, very precise because it's very small. Of course, you can't change the size of your interface. So I have it on 200%, I think. So you can change it to 250 or 300%, so it's bigger. But yeah, this makes this thing unnecessary to me. However, I think it's great that it's delivered with the display, because there are great use cases. For example, making a shortcut for saving your canvas, saving your file. So I recommend you to try this out and to program some keys here. But in my workflow for this test drawing I've been doing now for the video, I haven't really been missing it. So here's my final impression of the XP Pen Artist Ultra 16. I should not cover my microphone when talking. Well, final impression is it's amazing. I love it. It's really that good. Once again, XP Pen is able to make the higher priced competitors look bad. And if you're looking for a drawing display like this, in this size, with a touchscreen, with a fantastic screen, high resolution, top quality, do not pay more money than this costs. The downsides are marginal in my opinion, and the core values are all really strong. There's a very big but now though. because, well, this is not a comparison with the iPad because it's a very different type and kind of gear. However, now that this has a touchscreen, it kind of competes with the iPad in terms of the drawing experience and also in terms of the price, because for around the price of the XP Pen, you can get the lowest tier iPad Pro M5 or a used one. That's without any extras like pens or remote though. We now come to the point where I ask the most important question I ask every time when I review a display. Who is it for? Who's the target audience? And should you get it, or are you not the real target audience? So first you have to decide which size fits you. Personally, to me, 16 inches is near perfect because, well, at least for a display I draw with at my desk. For taking it with me, the 13-inch iPad, for example, is pretty nice. But when I sit at the desk, I like it a little bigger, but usually the 22, 24-inch displays are a bit too big for me because the machine itself just takes up so much space at my desk. But if you're someone who just loves like leaning over this huge display, this huge screen, have like lots of space to work, the 16 inches might feel a little small for you. And then now we come into comparing the XP Pen to the iPad, but you have to decide how important the flexibility of an iPad is for you. So you also, when you get an iPad, you have to take into account that you get like a full iPad. So there's a whole computer inside the display, which isn't the case for this one. This is just the screen. But with this one here, you get a full high power, like depending on your machine at home, of course, but potentially high power machine in the back of the display. And this is something you shouldn't underestimate, because when you have a strong computer in the back and the possibilities of, for example, an app like Clip Studio Paint that I've been working with, if you have that in the back, this is quite the incredible asset. So this for me is, apart from, of course, the operating system, so if you're an Apple fan or whatever, there's more to be taken into account, but this is kind of the main battle for me, like portability and flexibility versus the strong power of a computer and the really like extremely high potential apps you can use, like Photoshop, Clip Studio, or Affinity, for example. My personal view, the Artist Ultra 16 won't replace my iPad, but this thing from now on will be the new favorite display to work with when I'm at my desk and when I'm working here in my room. I just really love it. I love the experience and I can't recommend it enough for you. What you get here, if you want to invest the $1,000, what you get here for the money is incredible. And on top, I also got a €50 off coupon for you if you're interested in getting this. Check out the description. And here's my final portrait drawing for you. If you have any questions, let's continue the discussion down below in the comments. I'm always getting back to everyone who has a question or has a comment or tells me that I'm stupid for saying that this is the best drawing display ever. Let's discuss. And as always, thank you for watching so much, guys. Have a nice day and see you soon. Bye-bye.